Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. On the mountainside on Thunder Island, a waterfall roared down toward the enormous lake under it. There was an island with a diameter of several miles in the lake, and there 8 beings chatted with each other. Primal Chaos City Leader is the pillar of the human race, as he's made great contributions to us. But that Blade River Emperor Luofong, how is he related to the contributions of Primal Chaos City Leader? Humph. Primal Chaos City Leader earned his status with his power, his battles, and his contributions. As for Luofong, he's just a talent being cultivated and has been using the resources of our race. I didn't see his contributions at all. Why did he get true treasures? Why did he get the Beast God inheritance token? Talents are just consuming the resources. They actually owe something to our race. As for us, we're earning resources for our race, no contributions, and he's weaker than us. How is he qualified to have our status? A 25-foot-tall being growled in anger. He had massive, strong arms and wore black armor. A huge iron hammer rested beside his seat. What Thunder Knights said makes perfect sense. Yes, it makes sense. Other Universe Knights nodded. Don't talk too much, a handsome man with 6 pairs of wings said. He sat drinking alone. This is arranged by Primal Chaos City Leader, after all. Even if it's Primal Chaos City Leader's arrangement, Luofong should know that he isn't qualified to have a place here, Thunder Knight said in a hoarse voice. Yet he built palaces on the mountainside. That means he believes he's qualified to have the same status as us. Look, Truyang is here. It's Truyang. Stop talking. Truyang is very close with Luofong. All the Universe Knights raised their heads and saw Truyang Knight fly toward them like a beam of light. Thunder Island contained many great beings. The beings here formed friendships based on their varying levels. Universe Knights would usually befriend each other. Truyang Knight loved making friends with others, and thus he was close to quite a few Universe Knights. Truyang, come and sit down. Yes, Truyang, sit. The Universe Knights were all fairly welcoming. Although they were discontent with Luofong, they wouldn't vent their anger on Truyang Knight. After all, Truyang's sincerity had earned him quite a few close Universe Knight friends these years. Truyang Knight approached the handsome man with 6 pairs of wings and laughed. Blacksmith, you seem angry. Want to share with your brother? Bloody Wing Knight, do you mind giving me some of your wine? The winged man smiled and poured some of his wine out. Bloody Wing Knight and Thunder Knight were the most powerful among the 8 Universe Knights. I am indeed angry, Thunder Knight said. Do you know the news about your disciple Luofong? The other 7 Universe Knights looked at him unpleasantly, but Thunder Knight glared right back, saying, Truyang will know anyway. Know what? Truyang Knight was dazed. Is it he who is becoming undying? That doesn't have anything to do with me, Thunder Knight said. Do you know that Primal Chaos City Leader allowed him to build palaces on the mountainside like us Universe Knights? Truyang Knight was stunned. Thunder Knight continued, his only undying. How is he qualified to build palaces on the mountainside? Well, Truyang Knight was rendered speechless. Perhaps Primal Chaos City Leader has other thoughts in mind. Whatever thoughts he has in mind, he shouldn't have done this, Thunder Knight said. How could it convince us of his worthiness? Do you really think Luofong is as powerful as we are? Can you believe that? Truyang Knight hesitated to answer. Undying Fighters and Universe Knights were at 2 completely different levels. Universe Knights had hundreds of times more godly power than Undying Fighters, and along with the huge gap in lore comprehension and complexity of techniques, Universe Knights, in general, were thousands of times more powerful than Undying Fighters, if not more so. Even for special life forms like Bark Mirror Emperor and Juchong Emperor, they defeated some ordinary Universe Knights with their talent techniques. If it weren't for the talent techniques, the gap between their lore comprehension and that of Universe Knights would have crushed them. Thunder Knight shook his head. I'm not being jealous. I just care about the rules of our race. Everyone needs to follow the rules. Otherwise, how will the other great beings be convinced? It's already upset lots of great beings, but nobody dares to challenge the majesty of Primal Chaos City Leader. Hence, they all talk about it secretly and wait for your disciple to bring shame upon himself. If you really want the best for your disciple, please tell him to move off the mountainside unless he wants to be a disgrace. Besides, he just made himself an enemy of many Universe Knights. Isn't that getting the short end of the stick? Thunder is straightforward, But what he said makes perfect sense, Bloody Wing Knight said with a smile. Truyang, you need to think about what's best for your disciple. Truyang Knight was also upset. On the open-air square of the World of Glory, Luofong was chatting with Thousand Rain Emperor when someone landed beside him. Luofong. Luofong looked up and was surprised. Why have you come, teacher? I sent you an email to say that if you wanted me for something, you could go to the virtual universe and ask me and I would be there immediately. Thousand Rain Emperor, I need to have a word with Luofong now, Truyang Knight said. Thousand Rain Emperor left immediately. Truyang Emperor sealed the space around him, stared at Luofong, and said, I did receive your email, but some of my friends on Thunder Island dragged me into their conversation. Friends? Luofong blinked. All because of you. Truyang Knight shook his head. Apparently, building palaces on the mountainside of Thunder Island has upset quite a few Universe Knights. Luofong shook his head. Do they really need to be so petty? That's where you're wrong. Truyang Knight frowned. They have eternal lives, and their families have all passed away. They have been practicing for an eternity, and that is how they earned their current status. Their status and their honor might look worthless, but they value it very much. Luofong was astounded. Status. Honor. Truyang Knight whispered. I was stuck at the invincible emperor level for an eternity, and I could only hide. Only after becoming a Universe Knight did I earn a high status and incredible honor, and only after that did I become famous again. Their status and glory were earned by their power and contributions to our race. Truyang Knight sighed. What else do you think they care about aside from their status and honor? Luofong now understood completely. He had been wandering in the universe for 50,000 years, but he had been observing the weak. He had only seen a few Universe Knights, and hence, he hadn't realized that Universe Knights were also living beings, just living beings with great power. They were dedicated to something they believed in. Without families, they cared about their race, status, and honor above all else. They could die for their own race. They could die for their own honor. I now understand, Luofong said. No wonder so many great beings were disappointed by this. If I were a Universe Knight, I would also be upset if an undying talent suddenly gained the same level of glory as me. You're still young, and you're always at the center, Truyang Knight said. It's normal for you not to realize that. Luofong nodded. Yes. Status and glory were incredibly important to a great being. If someone became undying, became a Universe Knight, and died without being known, it would be boring. The most exciting way was to fight for honor, for glory. I know it. Luofong smiled. I'll prove to those Universe Knights that I'm a qualified one. I just need to defeat a Universe Knight. Defeat a Universe Knight? Truyang Knight was shocked. He hadn't witnessed the scene when Luofong became undying, so even if he had faith in Luofong, he couldn't imagine an undying human being defeating a Universe Knight. Even Bark Mirror Emperor could only bully the most mediocre Universe Knights, and he was almost killed by Truyang Knight. Bark Mirror Emperor was a unique life form with a life gene level of 2,000 times. There was a huge gap between undying fighters and Universe Knights. You don't believe me? Luofong laughed. Just watch. On the other side of the open-air square. Look, Bark Mirror Emperor. There's Blade River Emperor. Bark Mirror Emperor was sitting with the great beings of the Northern Territory Alliance. He looked at Luofong and Truyang Knight from afar. He hated both of their guts. He is indeed more powerful. Bark Mirror Emperor sneered. It seems that this Blade River Emperor has become undying. It's been 80,000 years. He had deep lore comprehension before he became undying, yet he still chose to wait for more than 80,000 years. So patient. I've been waiting for 80,000 years. Bark Mirror Emperor clenched his teeth. He wasn't sure whether he could rival Truyang Knight or not. However, he was confident that he could beat the famous Blade River Emperor. I'm undying, and you're undying as well, said Bark Mirror Emperor. It's not bullying if I fight you myself. After all, you're the peerless talent in the universe. Bark Mirror Emperor smirked and showed his fangs. Luofong and Truyang Knight were standing afar while Truyang Knight stood up and disappeared. Bark Mirror Emperor approached the heirs of the Hong Alliance. Bark Mirror Emperor is coming, someone said. Bark Mirror Emperor is walking toward us. All the 1,000 heirs in Hong Alliance turned around, including Luofong. Luofong and the other heirs in the Hong Alliance looked toward Bark Mirror, along with heirs from other groups as well. They were all wondering what Bark Mirror Emperor would like to do. Bark Mirror Emperor smiled and kept walking toward the Hong Alliance group even though he was being stared at by lots of other heirs. He soon arrived at the where Hong Alliance group had gathered. A universe knight within the Hong Alliance stood up. Bark Mirror Emperor, what are you doing here? I'm here, for Blade River Emperor. Blade River Emperor? All the heirs who heard this stood up in anticipation. They had all heard that Bark Mirror Emperor had once hunted Blade River Emperor, and the latter could only resort to hiding in the 9 remoteness whirlpool to escape. Now, Bark Mirror Emperor was back for Blade River Emperor. Luofong looked at Bark Mirror Emperor and asked, "Why are you looking for me, Bark Mirror Emperor?" "Haha. I haven't seen you for more than 80,000 years. Bark Mirror Emperor looked at Luofong, smiled, and showed his fangs. "I can already sense that you're more powerful. Blade River Emperor, have you become undying?" Quite a few heirs started to wonder the same thing. Blade River Emperor is indeed more powerful. But still, he can't compare with Bark Mirror Emperor. Bark Mirror Emperor is a unique life form who can rival a universe knight. As for Blade River Emperor, he is, after all, a human being. It's quite normal that he's less powerful. There were many discussions among the heirs in the distance. But Luofong wasn't affected by the discussions at all. He nodded and answered, "You're indeed perceptive." "That's right. I just became undying. Congratulations." Bark Mirror Emperor broke into laughter. The legendary Blade River Emperor who could kill an Emperor limit when he was only a Sector Lord, who could escape me when he was only a Sector Lord, and who could stay alive under the attack from Mud Knight when he was only a Sector Lord. You had 620,000 battles and won almost all of them. Bark Mirror Emperor seemed to be flattering Luofong, but his tone sounded aggressive. The heirs listening to the conversation were quite disturbed by his words. Luofong's reputation was built on them. However, they had to admit that Luofong was indeed impressive to have accomplished so much as a mere Sector Lord. "Now that you've become undying," Bark Mirror Emperor continued, "I have to admit that I was not as good as you when I was a Sector Lord. I'm exhilarated that you've become undying." "Exhilarated? Thanks," Luofong said. "If you were that powerful when you were only a Sector Lord," said Bark Mirror Emperor, "you must be much more powerful now that you've become undying." The heirs on the open-air square thought that the way Bark Mirror Emperor complimented Luofong was bizarre, but they agreed. Luofong must be incredibly strong if he was able to win so many battles without the help of outer force, and he was only a Sector Lord back then. "I'm here," said Bark Mirror Emperor, glaring at Luofong, "firstly to congratulate you, and secondly, to challenge you. Blade River Emperor, you're worth challenging. Blade River Emperor, you're worth all my efforts. Do you dare have a life-or-death battle with me, Blade River Emperor?" Bark Mirror Emperor gazed at Luofong. Silence. The open-air square went silent instantly. The heirs were all excited, but they kept quiet and watched Luofong. "Life-or-death battle?" Luofong frowned. "Whereabouts? Inside the world of glory? Of course not." Bark Mirror Emperor licked his lips, and his golden eyes glinted with hostility. "I mean a real-life battle. We can pick a place in the ancestral god's secret region and have a battle with the promise that neither of us will accept any assistance. It's an entirely one-on-one, life-or-death battle. Do you dare accept my challenge?" He smirked. "No need to invent excuses. Just tell me, do you dare accept? If you're scared, you can say no. However, I don't think a universe-renowned peerless talent will disappoint me." Bark Mirror Emperor stared at Luofong. "Accept? Or not?" The open-air square was deathly silent. Tens of millions of heirs all listened carefully. Blade River Emperor was indeed a legend. Would he fight Bark Mirror Emperor after becoming undying? Even though Bark Mirror Emperor wasn't as fabled as him, he was, after all, a powerful unique life form that could intimidate countless undying fighters. Would he accept the challenge? It was understandable to assume that Luofong wouldn't dare accept the challenge. After all, a life-or-death battle invitation from a powerful unique life form was intimidating enough to most. However, his reputation would be shattered if he said no. Luofong was undying, but Bark Mirror Emperor was undying as well. They were both undying, yet Luofong was still terrified of Bark Mirror Emperor. "Accept or deny?" Bark Mirror Emperor asked again, staring at Luofong. Luofong stood up, looked at Bark Mirror Emperor, and smiled. "How can I not take the chance since you're leaping to your own death?" All the heirs on the open-air square were thrilled. "You accepted it?" Bark Mirror Emperor's eyes gleamed. "Of course," Luofong said. He looked around. "I won't deny any challenges from undying fighters, The voice resounded on the entire square. All the heirs were stunned. Oh! Reckless. What Luofong had just said was so audacious that Zhuchong Emperor, who had been watching from afar, couldn't help smiling. A gloomy teenager in half-transparent purple armor chuckled. Zhuchong Emperor, he said he won't deny any challenges from undying fighters, said the teenager. It was difficult to tell whether the teenager was male or female. Are you just going to let him go like that? If I were still undying, I would kill him myself. Zhuchong Emperor glanced at the purple-armored teenager beside him. Purple Rain Knight, you're already a universe knight. Don't meddle. The purple-armored teenager was an incredible unique life form with a life gene level higher than that of Zhuchong Emperor. He was the mightiest undying fighter on Borhinia Island before, and he had killed quite a few universe knights when he was undying. After becoming a universe knight, he grew to be a powerful combatant in the ancestral god school. He might not even survive Bark Mirror Emperor, let alone me. Zhuchong Emperor shook his head. Luofong is too arrogant. He may be a peerless talent, but Bark Mirror Emperor is a special life form with a life gene level of 2,000 times. That's a huge gap. Yes. Purple Rain Knight nodded. Special life forms had their own sense of pride. Ha ha. Fantastic. Bark Mirror Emperor broke into laughter. I'll send an email to you later and tell you the universe coordinates. I'll choose an area right next to the portal of the ancestral god secret region. Okay. Luofong nodded. What time? The sooner, the better. But I need to give you some time for preparations. In half a day, and I'll tell you the location later. Bark Mirror Emperor was further excited. Okay. Luofong nodded. Ha ha. Bark Mirror Emperor laughed again. He stared at Luofong. Blade River Emperor, I didn't imagine you would be this brave. I hope you can still laugh at the end of the battle. Luofong smiled. The one with a strong personality, Bark Mirror Emperor said, grinning, is always the one who dies first. Bark Mirror Emperor disappeared. Luofong looked around and noticed Zhuchong Emperor and the purple-armored teenager staring at him. He smiled and vanished. The news incited a firestorm. All the heirs in Ancestral God School were thrilled. Even the battle between two real universe knights wouldn't have drawn so much attention. After all, a battle between two undying fighters with universe knight power was rarer. Bark Mirror Emperor was a unique life form with the power of a universe knight. Blade River Emperor, a universe-renowned super talent of the human race, and he had just become undying. A life-or-death battle between those two. It was such explosive news that billions of races in the universe knew about it instantly through the airs on Borhinia Island. All the superpowers knew about it immediately, and so did the human race. What? Blade River Emperor Luofong is going to engage in a life-or-death battle with Bark Mirror Emperor in the Ancestral God Secret region? Is that a joke? Bark Mirror Emperor is a powerful special life form, and he has the power of a universe knight. Even ordinary universe knights can be killed by him. Blade River Emperor is simply reckless. Blade River Emperor has a clone talent technique. He won't die, but he can get killed, and then his treasures will be taken away. His true treasures were bestowed by our human race. If they're taken by Bark Mirror Emperor, it's a loss for all of us. Reckless. Arrogant. Foolhardy. Those universe knights who were already dissatisfied with Luofong all thought this peerless talent was too haughty. They had seen many peerless talents who were similarly full of themselves, and they would only come to their senses after they suffered great losses. He will come to his senses after this battle. However, it will cost him true treasures. Meanwhile, Luofong spent his time in the palace on Borhinia Island. This Bark Mirror Emperor is indeed confident, Luofong chuckled. Master, said Tian Chen Emperor. Primal Chaos City leader gave you a big challenge by letting you live on the mountainside of Thunder Island. Of course, I know that. Luofong nodded. That's why I need Bark Mirror Emperor. True gold fears no fire. The stronger the fire is, the purer the gold is. It's about time. Luofong stood up. We congratulate our master beforehand, for we know you will return with a victory, Tian Chen Emperor said respectfully. Prepare a celebration feast, said Luofong. I'll invite Thousand Rain Emperor, Cha Man Emperor, and my teachers after I defeat Bark Mirror Emperor. He laughed, then teleported himself to the square in front of the leader's palace on Borhinia Island. He then teleported himself to the secret region through the waterfall. In an area of the ancestral god secret region floated some fragments of mountains. A stooping shadow stood on top of one of the mountain fragments. It was Bark Mirror Emperor. Zoom. A silver shadow showed up and landed on another mountain fragment. "Bark Mirror Emperor, you arrived here quite quickly," said Luofong, standing on the mountain fragment with his wings open. Bark Mirror Emperor sneered. "You're not slow, either. I thought your true treasure, the wing, was lost in the 9 remoteness whirlpool. But now I see it again, it should be claimed by some supreme being of the human race." Luofong smiled. "Think whatever you want." In the open-air square of the world of glory, all the heirs gathered on the open-air square. They were all sitting and looking at Bark Mirror Emperor, who was at the center of the square. "I'll broadcast this battle through the virtual network." Bark Mirror Emperor looked around. "Everyone will see who the winner is." Bark Mirror Emperor pointed to the space beside him. Suddenly, a light shot out and formed a projection. All the heirs could see distinctively that Luofong stood on a gigantic mountain fragment while Bark Mirror Emperor stood on another. They stood face to face with each other. "Bark Mirror Emperor is so reckless and confident that he is doing a live broadcast through the virtual network," someone said. "He's a special life form. Why would he not be confident? Quick, tell our race." The virtual network kept broadcasting the battle, and the heirs watching the fight telecast it back to their own races. "Haha. Let's see how the human dies. He'll win without question." The Northern Territory Alliance looked fierce. As for the heirs in Hong Alliance, they were all watching, holding their breath. Thousand Rain Emperor asked Truyang Knight in a low voice, "Do you think Blade River Emperor can win, Truyang Knight?" Truyang Knight gazed at the project in the sky. "Just watch." At this moment, lots of seniors from the superpowers of the universe were also paying close attention to the fight, like many universe knights in the human race. Luofong stood on a floating mountain fragment, looking at Bark Mirror Emperor in the distance. He glared at him. "Bark Mirror Emperor, I didn't expect you to do a live broadcast through the virtual network." "What? Are you afraid?" Bark Mirror Emperor grimaced and showed his fangs. Luofong shook his head. "If you want to bring shame upon yourself, why should I stop you? So arrogant." Bark Mirror Emperor snorted. "Now that we've both arrived, there's no need to wait longer. Let's start the fight now. So I can kill you even earlier than expected," Luofong replied. Bark Mirror Emperor's face twisted. "Foolhardy human." Bark Mirror Emperor roared. His godly power started to burn, and the force surged. It twisted and tore apart the space around him. Bark Mirror Emperor was small compared to other special life forms, but he was still much larger than human beings. He already had an advantage in size. Sheeing. A bloody glove showed up around his right claw, and that claw cut apart the space around it. In response, Luofong grinned and burned his godly power. Luofong's force also surged and tore apart the space around him. Bark Mirror Emperor was startled. "How is that possible?" he said. Luofong wasn't as powerful as he was in the world of glory, and he even felt weak before the fight. However, when Luofong started to burn his body, he began emanating power as intense as Bark Mirror Emperor, a special life form. And Bark Mirror Emperor's godly body was stronger than some universe knights. Bark Mirror Emperor glared at Luofong and yelled, "You hid your power." Luofong shook his wing. "Too late," he said. Countless stars floated with lore engravings on them. After being injected with Luofong's godly power, they disintegrated the space around them, forming miniature black holes. No space fragments would even touch the stars. 520 stars. 520 miniature black holes. The stronger the user was, the more powerful the treasures would become. Luofong's godly body was stronger than many universe knights, and each of the burning stars was fully utilized. Although he hadn't performed his technique, the stars had already made the space around them collapse and form black holes. "This is a true treasure." Bark Mirror Emperor was terrified, as the power was incredible. "I've told you, it's too late." Luofong waved his hands. Instantly, countless golden threads burst out of the 520 miniature black holes and formed a forceful beast god. The 520 black holes connected with each other and took the shape of the beast god's tail. Bark Mirror Emperor clenched his teeth. It was happening too fast. He had intended to crush Luofong, but now Luofong was slightly more powerful than him and his spiritual force weapon was a true treasure. "Arg!" Bark Mirror Emperor roared. "Goddamn human. You're only so powerful because of your true treasures. As for your weapons, haha, I'm a special life form with a godly body much more powerful than yours. Even true treasures are not going to help you. Die." Bark Mirror Emperor charged Luofong fiercely. Both of them cast Space Seal to start of the battle. Splendid like stars, The red light rips the nightfall like a blade, said Luofong. He shook his wing and dodged Bark Mirror Emperor. Meanwhile, he watched the gigantic beast god in the distance. The beast god growled. Bark Mirror Emperor growled as well and performed his talent technique. Luofong was attacked but was left unharmed. I was already able to defend myself against that talent technique using Tower Pearl. Now, I can withstand it even without Star Pearl. He looked at the beast god and Bark Mirror Emperor afar, who started to fight. This was the power of a spiritual force leader. He didn't need to engage in close-quarters combat. The beast god's tail moved like a flash of shining red light. Out of the 3 ultimate techniques Luofong had created, the second move was the fastest one, and besides, all the power was integrated into this one move. If the enemy dodged it, Luofong might need some time to make a second strike. The red light tore apart the surrounding space and attacked Bark Mirror Emperor directly. Bark Mirror Emperor waved his claws, bellowing loudly. The attacking power broke Bark Mirror Emperor's arm instantly. The beast god's tail slashed Bark Mirror Emperor's chest. The godly body started to crack, and the golden light emanating from the true treasure armor dimmed. Impossible. Bark Mirror Emperor glared at Luofong, terrified. 6% of his godly body was destroyed, and it had happened with his armor protecting him. Luofong sensed that Bark Mirror Emperor had become weaker. He nodded and thought, just as I expected. He had more godly power than Bark Mirror Emperor. Although Bark Mirror Emperor also had true treasures, Luofong's star map was a true treasure, too. As for techniques, although he only performed the second move of star map, the second ultimate move was already much more powerful than the third pinnacle move. The third move needed 160 stars, whereas the second one required 520. Although Bark Mirror Emperor created his own claw technique, it could barely pass the threshold of pinnacle techniques. All of them made Luofong stronger than his competitor. Besides, his incredible willpower further strengthened his godly power. Warriors didn't need much willpower when attacking, while spiritual force leaders valued willpower to a great extent. The capacity of a spiritual force weapon depended on the strength of willpower. With such an extraordinary will, Luofong destroyed 6% of his enemy's godly body. You're doomed, Bark Mirror Emperor. Luofong gazed at Bark Mirror Emperor coldly. The beast god attacked Bark Mirror Emperor again and again. He strived to dodge the attack, but he was nowhere close to the speed of the spiritual force weapon, which might be faster than Luofong with his Shawu wings. He could only be slashed again and again. Bark Mirror Emperor had true treasures to protect his godly body, while Luofong had a true treasure to attack him. They didn't have any advantages over each other in this aspect. Bark Mirror Emperor still looked mad. Ha ha, he roared. My godly body is clearly much larger than yours. You need to consume more than 1% of my godly power to annihilate my godly body. Do you really have that much power? Really? Luofong sneered. The more powerful one had an edge in annihilating godly power. For instance, Emperor Limits had the same amount of godly power as Pinnacle Emperors did. However, they used their secret amplification techniques or attacking techniques to strengthen their power tenfold, and that was how they could annihilate Emperor Limit's godly bodies by consuming 5 to 10% of their own power. As for Luofong, he also needed to consume 1% of Bark Mirror Emperor's godly power to destroy him completely. However, Luofong's godly body looked tiny. How come? Why isn't your godly body being weakened? Bark Mirror Emperor's golden eyes were wide open, filled with fury. Moran, that's because of my clone technique. Luofong grinned. One of his rings was holding a remote ocean body, and the remote ocean body, at the height of more than 5,500 miles, kept supplying him with endless godly power, which kept the original Earthling body at 100%. Ah! Bark Mirror Emperor was petrified. How could he have forgotten about that? You're carrying your bodies? Bastard human. With that, Bark Mirror Emperor went mad. He tried to run, but the beast god just kept slashing him, and his godly body kept being damaged. 51%. 45%. 39%. Your teacher Truyang and you, roared Bark Mirror Emperor. He had completely lost his mind. He could only resort to self-destruction unless he wanted to fall. Explode. 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 Bark Mirror Emperor's remaining body exploded, and tens of millions of miles of space around him were annihilated. Suddenly, a huge shadow showed up. The figure looked around, then shook his head. I'm late, he said. I tried to get here as soon as possible after realizing something was wrong, but I'm still too late. Bark Mirror Emperor exploded. Said Luofong, standing amid the aftershock of the explosion. He turned around and saw the figure in the distance. Its sudden appearance startled him. Pei Feng Knight, one of the supreme beings of the Northern Territory Alliance and one of the candidate deified generals. Although he was weaker than actual deified generals, he was a universe overlord. "Relax, Blade River Emperor," said Pei Feng Knight. "I'm not here to kill you. Although you killed Bark Mirror Emperor, the true treasures he left belong to the Northern Territory Alliance. I'm here to take them away." Pei Feng Knight dashed toward Luofong like a flash of light. "I was the one who killed Bark Mirror Emperor," Luofong said. "I'll claim those true treasures as my trophies." Under the burning godly power, his voice was like thunder resounding through the broken space. Meanwhile, the gigantic beast god formed by 520 stars grabbed the space ring, armor, bloody gloves, and crystal balls. This video will end here.